covers the sectors of infrastructure, trade, and investment, and labor cooperation, creating a huge amount of jobs for Israel. Last year, several seminars were held by Brooks, Separate, and the CEAI, and over 13 companies took part in the seminars. It focused on the financial and the legal aspects which Chinese enterprises faced in Israel. It was very successful and provided us with constructive ideas which were beneficial to all of us. This year, considering the status of business environment in Israel and a lot of companies facing visa labor problems, CEAI is successful in inviting Warsha law firm to jointly hold this seminar. Regarding the details and the professional of the company, I think later Mr. Tom will share with us. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. We need to leave the time for our dear Mr. Tom today. I do believe the seminar will be fun and full of learning. So again, very welcome to everyone to be here. Let's enjoy. I believe everyone will get a lot of value from this seminar. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gu. And let us move to part two. Like Mr. Gu mentioned, Warsha law firm is the largest boutique law office in Israel in the field of immigration and regulating the status. And the firm's strength stems from combining uncompromising professionalism, legal creativity, and extensive experience with deep values and fairnesses, as well as a deep passion and belief in human rights. Furthermore, the firm specializes in regulating the status of foreign experts and senior executives that represent large companies in high-tech, industrial sectors, real estate, sports, film, television, as well as business owners in case of unlawful employment. Additionally, the firm provides legal services to Israeli managers and construction companies. Its services include visas for specialists, executive business visitor, team manager, foreign workers, advancing procedures in Israeli consulate in Shanghai, representation in criminal and administrative proceedings, and ongoing legal advice regarding dealing with employees to prevent enforcement procedures from the authorities on suspicion of violating the human rights. Mr. Warsha will give us a presentation regarding immigration and visa issues in Israel, workers, experts, team leaders, and permits. Mr. Warsha, welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much to all the management of CEAI, and of course I'm very happy to be here and to share the knowledge and the information that I think all of you deserve to know. First of all, about myself and about my firm. I'm an immigration lawyer for over 20 years, started in 2002, and indeed I'm happy and proud to say that I have the largest immigration law firm in Israel. We have 13 lawyers in my law firm, and of course more administrative staff, and all of us, we work day and night only on immigration issues, and of course it makes us specialists in this field. We represent also individuals and also companies, also specific cases and also principal cases. Just now, today, this morning, something huge happened. We succeeded to have a great precedent and achievement in Israel that is now spreading all over the news. I will just share with you. It's about private conversions in Israel. You know, Israel is a Jewish state, and the government wants to control all the conversions. We won today in the court with 2 appeals that said that private conversions are acceptable, even though the government was against it. We won the case, and it's about to open the way for thousands of people to join the Jewish state and to get Israeli citizenships. So it was a huge achievement of today, and this is just an example. Maybe some of you read, we represented the Ukrainian ambassador and the embassy against the policy of the Minister of Interior to block the entry of Ukrainians during the war with Russia. So we also won the case in the court 2 months ago, and we allowed thousands of Ukrainians to reunite with their families. And of course, we represent a lot of companies in the expert field. We were the one to bring Netflix, the media company, for the first time to Israel to shoot a series here. We brought more than 40 experts, crew members, director, film cinematographers, producers from Netflix during the COVID-19, even though they had to change the people on a daily basis. We succeeded to make it happen, and they shoot here the Hit and Run series. Maybe some of you already saw it. And of course, many other companies from construction and from industry and from the movie industry and of course from the sport industry and so on. Now, our advantage is being so expert, knowing all the relevant bodies and organizations. We are very familiar with the Ministry of Interior, with all the officers, with all the people in charge, from the minister through the director and through the leading departments, and of course all the way down to the people staying at the offices in Israel. We also in great relations with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and all the other administrative offices in Israel. And of course, we are well known in the courts, in the High Court, and of course in the courts lower than this. And we are very creative, very persistent, very professional, accurate about our job, and we care about winning the case to the client. And one of my leading mottos is that if we think that the case is not strong, if we think that the case has no chance, we don't take it. We just say to the client, we don't want to take hopeless cases. We're only interested in winning for the clients, and this is what we do. Now, some of the companies that are here are already our clients, and we are very happy to help them. And some of you are not, and I meet you now for the first time. And this purpose of this lecture is to explain to you all the places that you can use the knowledge and the services in order to have better benefits in Israel. So we will divide it for a few issues that I know that are relevant to you. When the first Chinese companies approached us, I was very surprised to see that some of them were mistreated by representatives before other representatives that tried to help, they tried to apply on their behalf. And when the case was very easy, if it was only a bureaucratical thing, then maybe it worked out and everything went okay. But when things became a little more complicated, when suddenly you were tackled with negative decisions or with new situations or something didn't go according to plan, many mistakes happened. And not only they didn't help you, they also hurt you. Because any negative decision that you have with the Interior Office eventually is in your records, is set against you, and they start to have a negative feel about your company, and this is a bad thing to happen. Now, if you don't know how to tackle one problem, if you don't know which person to communicate, if you don't know what to explain, if you don't know to overcome the situation, then eventually you get deeper and deeper in the problem. But for us, when we see a case, immediately we know how to attack it, how to challenge it, and how to try to figure it out. So some of the companies, they came to us with bad decisions already, with negative decisions, and we succeeded to overturn it. Sometimes it was by convincing the representatives of the Interior Office that they made a mistake. Sometimes we had to go to court. I will give you some examples along the way, and I will brief you about the issues that I think are relevant to you. Let's start with some of the issues that you are facing. When you, as a Chinese company, coming to work in Israel, of course you need to settle all the visas to all the people that are here. No one can stay here with a tourist visa without visa. Now, some of you can invite other members of your company as tourists. And back before, you had the 10 years re-entry visas that you could come and go every time. But there was a new procedure that is called a business visitor. And this business visitor allowed only the Chinese. From all the other countries, only the Chinese received this advantage of having the possibility to apply for a 1-year tourist visa. If you had to come for some business, for negotiations, for explorations, for meetings, and you didn't want to go and come back, and this was especially relevant during the COVID-19 when you had the isolation, the quarantine that you had to do in China and in Israel. So we succeeded to make it happen and to bring some Chinese visitors to stay here with a long-term visa as tourists. So this is the one exception, but it is relevant for you to know that it's possible. Now, the work is usually done with the Interior Office in Israel and with the Foreign Affairs.
The regulation.
Excuse me? So we work with the Interior Office and we work with the Foreign Affairs Office, of course with the consulate in Beijing and Shanghai and so on, and the work must be very accurate, so we made it happen. But apart from this, when you're coming to Israel, you have to have a working permit. And here it depends. One working permit is for the workers, for the employees. This is a foreign worker visa, the regular one. The second one is the expert visa. And also under this expert visa, you have some categories. One category of the expert visa is the director visa, is the manager visa, which is different because you don't need to pay the regular tolls and yearly payments that you have for the regular expert. So this is something also relevant that, of course, all of you know because you bring the managements here. And you have also, of course, the team leaders. Now, the team leaders is a special thing, of course, for the Chinese companies, specifically to allow the Chinese companies to come and build and work in construction in Israel. But there are some issues also about this one that we will talk in a minute. Now, some of the companies, 5 companies, came to me recently and expressed a very big concern about something that happens to all of you under the Interior Ministry. Usually, when you have worker, you need to pay around 20,000 shekels yearly payment for every worker. Part of it is the yearly toll and part of it is the yearly permit payment, and altogether it's around 20,000 shekels a year that you are paying monthly. It's around 1,600, 1,700 shekels a month. Now, all of you know that the regulations of the Interior Office say that if the worker is leaving you to work for a different company, or if he's leaving Israel, or God forbid if he passed away, then you don't need to pay this money anymore. But what happens if he runs away? Okay? Now, all of you have this problem. All of you have companies and you have some kind of percentage from the workers that are running away. You know it more than me, of course. Some of them, most of them are not going to work for other companies, okay? Because what they care about is going under the radar and working without the visa. Now, the ministry, the Interior Ministry and PIBA, they don't have enough manpower to go and look for all these runaways. And these runaways, eventually, they go and work under the table. And they earn more money. And they know and think that when the time comes, if any, that they are arrested and deported, still it was more beneficial for them to do it and earn more money than under the regulations of the company. The second part is that the government of Israel doesn't allow you as the companies to control these workers. They don't allow you to take any guarantees from the workers. They don't allow you to sign them on contracts that forbid them from running away, because in the state of Israel they give a lot of emphasis, a lot of strength to the will of the worker. They defend the worker. They want to allow the worker to choose his place of work, and this is why you are forbidden from taking any actions against the employee. So if you combine these two facts, one, that the employee has an incentive to run away and earn more money, and you combine it with the fact that you don't have any control over him, eventually you have a very high percent of deserters that the government of Israel demands that you continue to pay for them. So if they ran away and they didn't go to any new employer, registered employer, that started to pay for them the new payments, then you are still being charged all the way to the end of the year. Even if the worker left you on February, you will still continue to pay. Now, we were looking into this matter, and we think that this is wrong. Now, we think this is wrong, and when we say that we think it's wrong, it's not based on our wishful thinking. It is based on our legal perspective, on our legal thought, on our legal point of view. When we challenge any decision of the government, any procedure of the government, then we don't take everything for granted. When the government decides something, it doesn't mean that it must stand and that it overcome any other thing. In the state of Israel, the human rights are higher, and the government cannot hurt human rights. And human rights means, of course, also the company's rights. They cannot charge you money for nothing. They cannot bring up rules that are not logical, that are not reasonable, that are not in line with the administrative system in Israel. Now, we succeeded to overturn many governmental decisions. We succeeded to overturn many interior office decisions because the court is above the Ministry of Interior. Sometimes when we see something wrong, we go to the Ministry of Interior and we convince them that they are wrong, and then they're changing it. If they refuse, it doesn't mean that they are right. We have the power to go to court and convince the court that we are right about it. And so far, in these 20 years of experience, we had many precedents in all kinds of fields at the immigration. Concerning this matter of the payment, the unnecessary payment for runaways, I am telling you that this is unacceptable. It's unreasonable. It doesn't have any justification. There is no need for you to pay to the government monthly payment for a worker that deserted you and went to work illegally. Especially when you have to report it to the government and they're the one not to do anything about it. So when I heard about this problem from these 5 companies, and immediately we looked into it, now we think that we have a very good chance to change it. And what we are about to do, what we want to do, we want to negotiate with the government, with the Interior Office, to explain to them that it must be changed. And if they insist on charging you with money that they don't deserve, we definitely think we should go to the court to challenge it. Now, all in all, So far in my career, I had very few mistakes, very few cases that I was wrong about. I'm telling you, this is a very strong case. I strongly believe in it. And if we win the case, then we can save you millions of shekels for each company. Each company will stop paying for all the runaways. Every time a worker deserts you, you report it to the government, and from this moment on, you need to stop paying the tolls for his work. And of course, the second part is that you will have this permit open to bring new workers. Until now, you cannot use this permit again if you ran away. But if we win the case, then of course it will be open for you. And once we win it, we change it from this moment on to the rest of your period of working in Israel. So to sum up this move, and then we will move forward to other issues, I strongly advise each company to be in touch with CEAI and to join this legal move that we are making. This is now holidays in Israel, so this is the right time to join yourself together. I think that it's a very good idea that you had to unite yourself under one organization that takes care of all your interests. I think that each of you alone have much less power than all of you together. Don't forget that you came here to work, but Israel is a very small market for you. You're all representatives of big Chinese companies that can work all over the world, and of course in China. And the Israeli market needs you much more than you need them. And the Israeli market, the Israeli population, and the Israeli government should embrace you. They should accept you. They should allow you to work. They should allow you to develop. They should allow you to do what you know to do best, which is to build. And every time they shut you down and they block you, this is against the interest of the Israeli public. So the fact that you are united under one organization gives you a lot of power. And now when we combine it with a very strong and very accurate legal representation and legal work, I think that we have a very strong chance to succeed. Any questions about this point so far? Okay, so if you have questions at the end, of course, it's possible. Now let's move on. About this matter, contact CEAI, register, or you can contact us directly to my office number. Of course, we will write it down as well, and we can explain more about this move. Now you have also other issues that bother you. One main issue, again, is what happens after 63 months? What happens after 5 years and 3 months? Now, as you all know, or don't know, in Israel, foreign workers can work only up to 63 months, which is a little more than 5 years. The reason for this rule is that the Israeli government don't want workers to settle in Israel. Now, they don't really consider the mentality issues that maybe a worker from China can work in Israel even 10 years, but still see himself as a Chinese citizen that his place of residence is in China and he wants to live in China. The government is trying to block any possible option that this person would like eventually to settle here as a resident. And this is why they have this rule that every worker in Israel cannot work in Israel more than 63 months. The only exception is for caregivers, that if they work for some Israelis, they can work more than 5 years, and they can work even 20 years because it's the benefit of the Israeli in need. The second exception is if we prove that there is a special contribution to the Israeli society. Now, we used this exception to keep in Israel many, many experts and workers. We had to apply a special application to a special committee that is eventually involves some of the government offices, and we had to convince them with our arguments and with, of course, documents that we had to show that the person that we talked about must stay in Israel more than 5 years. And we succeeded many times before. I don't know if you're familiar with this option, but this is a very good one. Now, some of the companies came to me and say, look, we have hundreds of workers and we have many experts, and some of them are more important to us than others. Some of them are working in Israel for 4 years or more, and we cannot let them go. We cannot let them go back to China because this will be a huge loss for the companies. We need them to be in charge, and we want them to stay for more than 5 years. So here I'm telling you about this as well. There is a possibility. This is an individual application. If, for example, a company has 5 people that they want to keep in Israel, we need to apply 5 different applications. Part of the applications can be accepted, part of the applications can be denied. Even if it's denied, we can take more actions. What I think you should do, and what I told my clients and what I tell all of you, prepare a list of the workers who are 4 years or above that you really would like to keep in Israel. And we can send each and every one of you a list of questions to answer. So we will know and be more familiar with your situation. Who is this worker? How many years is in Israel? What is his position? Why do you need him especially? And then we can apply these applications to the government, and I believe that at least some of them would be accepted, and you can enjoy these workers for much more time. Now, once we win and we get an extension, this extension will be for 1 year. But after this 1 year, it will be much easier to extend it for another year and for another year. And we have experts also from China and also from other countries that we are keeping in Israel much more than 5 years. We know even a very important company in Israel that the leading position in the company was an expert from Australia. And he was in Israel for many years as an expert. And then he had an Israeli girlfriend. So he changed his visa to a B1 visa from the friendship procedure. But he continued to work for this business. And then he broke up with his girlfriend, and the company came to me and they were devastated, saying that they must have this expert going and continue his work. By this point, he was already without visa for some time. He was illegal. It was a very challenging case, but we took it and we won. We succeeded to convince the Interior Office that this person is very needed for the company, and we succeeded to get him an extension of the expert permit, even though he was in Israel more than 9 years. And this company appreciated the work very much. So what I suggest you can have an open line to my firm, and I have special workers, special lawyers that deal with the companies. Amit is the leading lawyer that deals with the Chinese companies. We can give you advices, we can examine your cases, and of course,
all this correspondence and all this advice. We're not charging you because of CEAI. Only if we see that we have something that we can do, we can offer, then we will offer it to you. But you can feel free to approach to us with the problems that you have, with the issues that you have, and we will try to help. Now, other issues that we handle for the Chinese companies. First of all, recently, you had a very big problem with the Israeli consulates in China. You had open permits that already were approved by the Ministry of Interior, but you could not bring in the workers because the consulate were not working. My office was in direct contact with high officials at the Ministry of Interior and with the Foreign Affairs. I was in touch directly with the head of all the consulates around the world at the Ministry of Interior office, and I expressed the deep concerns that all your companies have, and of course, the way that it affects badly the Israeli public, and eventually we succeeded to get to this solution that they are allowing your workers to come in without the need to go through the consulates. Now, one more thing is concerning the team leaders. Of course, every company has team leaders. You need this position. Let me just briefly explain to you how it came up to begin with. As you know, in Israel, we said you can work only 63 months. Back some years ago, you had Chinese workers that they were working in Israel. And of course, they started to be familiar with the mentality. They started to be familiar with the language. They were in touch with Israeli companies, with Israeli subcontractors. But then they had to go back to China. Now, because you work in the site with other subcontractors, eventually you're working at the same site, Chinese workers, Israeli workers, everyone is there, and it can cause real problems, okay? Safety problems. So the government decided to try to fight these safety problems and allow you to bring in the team leaders. And they had some specific rules about it. As I said before, they don't want the people to resettle in Israel. So they came up with some criterions that are very severe. One of it was that the team leader could not be in Israel for the past 5 years, even for a visit. If a team leader came to Israel under a tourist visa 3 years ago or 4 years ago, he was disqualified. Another condition was that during his stay in Israel, 5 years and above, he had to carry visa all the time for the full consecutive 5 years. But of course, in part of the matters, it was not the fault of the worker, but he didn't have visa because he left his previous employer, because the employer fired him, because he was looking for a new employer, because the new employer took some time to settle his visa. So legally speaking, this employee, this team leader, didn't have a visa for a full 5 years, but of course he was legal and he did everything correctly. This was also a reason for the Interior Office to disqualify the team leader. Now, when you apply on your own for a team leader, you can be rejected because of it. And when you get a rejection, you don't know how to deal with it because you are not an immigration lawyer. You accept the fact that the government decided in your case, and you take it as this is the only option. you apply, you're rejected, and you tell yourself, okay, I'm sorry, I tried, and this is it. But for us, this is not the matter. We know, based on our experience, that there are many, many mistakes in the government's work. Eventually, these are all people that are working behind the scenes, and they can have mistakes. They can make mistakes. And if we know that we make mistake, we know how to confront it. And one of your companies, they came to us after they applied for a team leader. They were rejected in an email with one sentence saying that you don't qualify to the criteria. They came to us and we found out that we can overcome it, and we applied again and we won, and we got for this company the team leader visa. So every time you would like to apply, it must be done by a lawyer that knows his way and knows how to explain the government and knows how to show the government that everything is according to the rules. Now, there are some cases which indeed don't qualify the rules. You can try to bring a team leader that doesn't qualify the rules. Even then, we can do something. You need to understand that in Israel, there are few different levels of the law. First of all, there is the law that was constituted by the Knesset. This law cannot be overturned only by the court in very special cases. But most of the criteria and most of the procedures that are relevant for the Chinese companies are not under the specific law of the Knesset. They are all done by administrative procedures from the Ministry of Interior. It's not by the Knesset and it's not by the government. It's only procedures that were decided by the Ministry of Interior. And because of that, they can be changed. And because of that, they can take decisions even against their own procedures, because the level of this procedure is not high and it can be changed. And this is why even if you have cases who don't qualify to the rules that you are familiar with, even then we can win the case. Sometimes with the convincing of the Interior Office and sometimes in the court. Now, you shouldn't be afraid when we speak about the court. In Israel, we use the court many times, and this is very normal and this is very acceptable. The government will not mark you if you went with a certain matter to the court. They understand the way the game is played. They understand the rules. They know that the court is there in order to examine the way they act, and they know that sometimes the court changes what they say. So if you confront a problem, if you get a decision that you are not happy with, if this is a serious thing for you that is worth fighting for in the court, this is what should be done. And you should not think that you need good relations with the Interior Office in order for them to treat you well. They will treat you well because they must. This is their obligation as the Ministry of Interior Office and like all the other ministries in Israel. They cannot play games with you. They cannot treat you badly just because you challenge one of their decisions. This is a professional situation. They all know about it. We are challenging them many times in the court. They respect us. They respect the clients that we come with. And this is perfectly normal. So even if the decision is taken, and even if it's according to the rules, sometimes we can overturn it in the court if we prove that this is hurting you very badly. There are more issues that are relevant to you. One more issue that is relevant to some of you and maybe to all of you is actions that are taken against your companies and against the management of the companies of enforcement. Now, if you have workers that are complaining against you, and you know that it's not true, you know that they have different motives to complain against you. Sometimes they want to get to another company. Sometimes this is the only way to stay in Israel. Sometimes they're trying to benefit financially from it. It doesn't matter why. But if a certain worker complains against you to the government, to the Ministry of Interior, and all of you, or maybe some of you know the organization Kavla Oved, which allows all the workers to contact him and complain, and then they bring it up to the government, then you can confront a very big problem. The government has many powers against you. They can enforce actions against you concerning your permits, concerning the guarantees that you submitted, concerning personal actions against the management. Even the management can find themselves discharged from their management visas. The companies can face cancellation of the permits. Now you know that all of you came here to work, you brought in hundreds of workers, you took upon yourselves obligations, contracts for millions and millions. You are obliged to construct and work under a tight schedule that involves many other companies as well, and maybe many subcontractors. And of course your profit is in stake. And suddenly you face charges, criminal charges, administrative charges from the government. So if something like this happens to you, to some of you, it already happened, some of you maybe not, but all of you can face it. The most important thing is to contact us immediately for advice. Now, I'm telling you this because we represent many companies, of course not only Chinese, and many managers, many directors, many employers that have this problem. And the most important thing is to have legal advice from the first moment that you hear about it. You shouldn't talk to the government representatives. You shouldn't talk to any of the interior office representatives. You should not answer any question before you consult us. Everything is written down. Everything is recorded and it can be used against you. And don't think that the government is looking for justice. Don't think that they are listening to you with open arms to try to find what really happened. Sometimes they have different opinions, and sometimes they only want to prove what they think happened, and they will use anything that you say against you. And it's not about cooperating with them. It's about taking care of your interest, of your best interest. You have a lot of things that you jeopardize at this process. So the first move is to contact us, to tell us what happened, and immediately we will consult you what to do. We can send letters of representations to the Ministry of Interior. We can tell them to stop talking to you. We can tell them to contact only us directly, and we can tell them that we will be the one to explain the matter and to bring all the evidence for your position. And having the right advice will resolve 90% of the problem. If it already happened to you and you didn't have the right advice, still, what can you do? It's advisable to contact us as soon as possible so we can review everything that happened to you and we can advise you what is the best thing to do from now on. When we go to the court, we succeed to achieve things that you can't even imagine. We had workers that the companies applied for them for extension of the visa, and the Ministry of Interior refused, and they rejected them. And this company was facing a huge problem because the government told the worker to leave the country, but the company needed him. So in few occasions, we took the matter to the court, and then when we applied to the court, we also applied for a temporary warrant to allow the company to continue to employ this worker as long as the case is open in the court. And then we succeed to provide you with this cure and to protect you and to allow you to employ this person. We have many cases that the process in the court lasted even a year. Even before the final decision, we succeeded to allow the company to continue to employ this person for a year or so. So this is also another solution that we can offer. Another issue that some companies came to us and wanted to know what to do is about family relatives of workers. Some of you came to us and complained that the workers cannot go to a yearly vacation to visit the family because of the isolation, because of the quarantine, that they cannot go for a short time like before. Now, as you probably know, it's forbidden for a worker from China to visit him, because also this rule was set in order to prevent any worker from settling here with his family. But if this is a problem that many of you share, that many of you need solution to, if you have some workers that you want to bring in the families for a short visit because it's important, also here you can contact us to share with us the information, and if we see that indeed it's something that bothers you, we can offer a solution and we can apply to the Ministry of Interior to make an exception only during this time of the COVID in order to make it easier for the workers. During the COVID-19, we succeeded to have many new regulations and many unique decisions that were not usually taken because of the special situation. Now, one more topic that I would like to speak about, and then of course we will open the lecture to some questions if you have, is not concerning the companies themselves, but it's concerning all of you as Chinese citizens who are in Israel. We represent also many Chinese individuals. Many Chinese individuals that are in Israel, that they are here because they used to work here for many years, because they had Israeli spouse, because they brought up children in Israel, and they had all kinds of visas. And then they faced a problem that the Ministry of Interior didn't want to extend their visas, didn't want to upgrade their visas. Something happened in their family situation, and we represent many of them, and we get them special humanitarian visas in Israel. It can be Israeli residency, it can be open working permit that allow them to work anywhere in Israel in any line of profession. So I'm just telling you that this is also something that we do. If you have Chinese friends, Chinese citizens that you know of that are in need of a special visa in Israel, which is not a Chinese working visa, it's also something that we deal with. We listen to the case and we see if it fits some of the options that we have in line. So I think that so far we have covered many options that you have as companies. We started with the money that you pay for the workers that are deserting you. We spoke about the workers that you want to keep more than 63 months. We spoke about the team leaders. We spoke about the humanitarian visas. We spoke about experts and management visas. And we spoke about enforcement. All of these issues are just topics that I briefly touched to explain to you the situation of the immigration in Israel. Of course, there are much more to say, but I don't want to drag you too much. Feel free to contact us, and we will be very happy to contribute from our knowledge and to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tomer. And as we all know, first, thank you so much for your sharing of all the incident practices you analyzed for us. As we all know, the Israeli visa is very, very different from most of the countries in the world. So all the Chinese companies faced a lot of problems during the past years. So thanks so much. Now let's move to the part 3, questions and answers. So all the guests, all the representatives from all the enterprises, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to raise your hand and raise your questions. So Tomer can give you the answer. Thank you. Sarah? You're muted. Sorry, you're muted.
I'm Sarah. Thank you very much for this conversation. I would like to ask about team leader. You mentioned that, but I'm not sure. You speak about its kind of category of visa in Israel, team leader?
Team leader is a working permit. In Israel, the kinds of visas are determined by the law. So you have a tourist visa, which is B2, and you have the working permit, which is the B1. And under this B1 visa, you have certain categories. It can be a free open visa that you can work anywhere, and it can be a visa that is set only for a specific line of work. It can be agriculture, it can be caregivers, it can be constructions, it can be industry, all kinds. The team leader is a working visa that is given based on specific conditions under a specific procedure for a specific purpose, which is to be in charge of the teams and to coordinate the work in the construction site with all the subcontractors.
I see. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Maybe I explained everything so well, so there are no questions.
Yeah, but I have a small question, Thomas. As far as I know, there's still a strike in the consulate in Shanghai, right?
Excuse me?
I mean, now there's still a strike from the Foreign Affairs Authority in Shanghai, right? So under this scenario, so what should we do?
First of all, it's not only in Shanghai, of course. The problem is that the union of the workers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are taking actions against the management in order to improve their rights. Okay. So it's not only in Shanghai, it's all over the world. But of course that it damaged a lot the Israeli market, and this is the purpose. The purpose is to show the government that they must give them what they want. So in specific cases, when we prove that there is a big problem, we can find solutions in different ways. I'm in touch with the consulates, as I said, I'm in touch with the management in Israel. So we can try to work out issues when they arise, as we did recently about the entry of the many workers. They gave 30 days, and if you have needs other than that, please let us know so we can try to help you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else has questions? Okay, I think there's no question anymore. So if any company wants to contact Mr. Thomas, Warsha Law Firm, please do not hesitate to call me and CEAI, and we will try to set up the bridge between your company and Thomas' office so you can get consultancy service from Mr. Thomas. Okay? That's all. Thank you, guys. Okay, Thomas.
Just one last thing concerning what we started with, which is the work that we would like to start now for all your companies concerning the payments that you're paying. This is an urgent thing that each of you should try to join in, because if we come as a group, if we come with many companies, then of course it looks much stronger. So we already are planning the move. I will brief you more, and I will send you all the materials so we can move on. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.